Hello and welcome to Nationwide on the network service of the NTA. We're reaching you live from Abuja. I'm Hawa Salihu Adama. Thanks for joining us. President Muhammadu Buhari says the survival of humanity depends largely on how well the international community can effectively collaborate and cooperate towards attaining goals set for global peace and economic prosperity. The president stated these while addressing 4 new ambassadors posted to Nigeria on tour of duty by their respective countries. State House correspondent Adamu Sambo is putting that report together and will come later. The journey of another 4 years officially begins for Governor Godwin Obaseki and his deputy Philip Shuaibu of Edo State as they were inaugurated for a second term in office. Governor Obaseki, in his inaugural speech, promised to consolidate on the successes his administration recorded in the first term with keen focus on education, healthcare, agriculture, as well as the promotion of arts and culture, amongst others.
We will focus on the following priority areas. We will grow our social sector by constantly improving our education, healthcare system, provision of social security and safety nets, and caring for the vulnerable and the disadvantaged in our state. We will promote arts and culture to preserve our past and document the future, and ensure that we use an arts and culture as a springboard to develop tourism.
Governor Obaseki is the 5th civilian governor of Edo State and becomes the first governor of the state to govern 2 terms under 2 different political parties. The federal government has assured the Federal Road Safety Corps of the restoration of destroyed property during the NSAS protest. Secretary to the government of the Federation, Boss Mustafa, said this during the inspection of facilities and some newly acquired vehicles at the Corps headquarters in Abuja. Oyeyemi Ajayi completes the report.
Pictures from the destruction left in the wake of the NSAS protest cannot be forgotten in a hurry. Many are working hard to rebuild, rehabilitate and reconstruct properties destroyed during the chaos. The Federal Road Safety Corps is one of them. 8 command offices were seriously affected, as some of its offices were burnt and vehicles destroyed. Undeterred by this, the Corps has acquired 16 patrol vehicles, 2 ambulances and 1 tow truck to replace the burnt ones.
I want to assure you that government will do everything possible to ensure that we restock your needs in terms of operational vehicles and motorcycles, and also look at how fast we can rehabilitate and reinstate your offices.
We lost about 28 vehicles, and so that means we give priority to these areas first. Then the remaining, we inject it into the critical areas. We believe that if we get more funds from the capital vote, we do all the remaining patrol vehicles. But for this, we need to first of all rehog, get those commands that have been shut down by way of non-availability of patrol vehicles now to be able to resume work.
The vehicles will be deployed as part of those ready for the end of the year patrol nationwide, and the tow truck is set to be deployed to Lagos. In Abuja, Oyeyemi Ajayi, NTA News.
Meanwhile, feedback is being received from political leaders in Nigeria who have engaged their constituents after the NSAS protest. Some of these include A harmonized salary structure for all security agencies, creation of more jobs, as well as the recognition of the Office of the Citizen. Guests on Good Morning Nigeria revealed this while discussing the engagement of political leaders with their communities after the NSAS protest. Over now to Olusheye Adiabu.
At the time we walked into the arena, we saw tension with our eyes. There was no sir about it. There was no distinguished senator. They talked to me and the honorable minister and the entire district and said, take this to the president.
Ita Enang, Senior Special Assistant to the President on Niger Delta Affairs, explaining the scenario at a meeting with stakeholders in his constituency. He says the demeanor of his constituencies was not that of smiles, though fruitful, and all feedback received will be given utmost attention.
The public will want to hear that we have something I will want to call harmonized security services salary emolument allowances scale.
Public Affairs Analyst Ibrahim Modibo and Ni Akinsidu described the President's directive as more timed, but they suggest the involvement of more actors.
These government officials should have been mobilized to work in tandem with the NTA, the radio stations, as well as the National Orientation Agency to be fully funded, to be talking to Nigerians, especially once in a quarter.
And of course also including the traditional rulers, because they are still centers of powers wherever they are.
Responses from NTA German Twitter handle also agreed with the comments from the guests that accurate and timely communication of government programs and policies to the people will help in achieving a peaceful and progressive Nigeria. They commended President Buhari's effort at averting a repeat of the protest and its negative consequences. In Abuja, Olusheye Adiagbo, NTA News.
And still staying with the aftermath of the NSAS, since suspected hoodlums dealt a hard blow on NTA Calabar, the station has been struggling to pick its bits and pieces. Rather than living in despair, there is now a ray of hope with assurances that the station will be back on air in 6 weeks. This assurance is coming from the Director General of the Nigerian Television Authority, Yakubu Ibn Mohammed, during his on-the-spot assessment of damages caused. Justina Etin has the details.
Director General was conducted round units and departments which are now virtually empty due to the weight of the vandalization and looting by the suspected hoodlums. He described the magnitude of destruction as a setback, stressing that it will take a gradual process for NTA Calabar to be back on air and return to glory days.
We should not be deterred by what happened. We should see it as a temporary setback. It should spur us to want to do more in the service of NTA Calabar.
During interaction with staff, the Director General sues for discipline, commitment to duty, and unity of purpose to get the station back on its feet. It was not all about the sad events for staff after all, as they chose not to be dampened. The DG turned a year older and staff had a reason to smile with a surprise chant of Happy Birthday song. Happy birthday, happy birthday, happy birthday to you.
Frying time actually signifies hope. It means that we are not alone. We have a reliable and responsive father.
Staff of the Nigerian Television Authority Calabar also promised to live up to expectations. Justina Etam, NTA News.
And it is many happy returns to the Director General of the NTA. Moving on, the Judicial Panel of Inquiry set up by Governor Okeze Ikpeazu to look into cases of police brutality, human rights violations or allegations of extrajudicial killings by operatives of the disbanded Special Anti-Robbery Squad, SARS, has begun sitting with 44 petitions from the public. Chairman of the 16-man panel, Justice Sunday Imo, has assured that the panel will live up to expectations by looking into all complaints and petitions brought before it to ensure justice. Chinyere Okoli has more.
The panel chairman said they are looking for recommendations on how to ensure that security agents operate within the ambit of the law and appealed to victims to submit verifiable evidence that could enable the panel to carry out its duty diligently.
We want to assure you and members of the public that this panel shall discharge our functions without fear or favor.
Representatives of the civil society and other bodies expressed hope that justice will be delivered.
My Lord, as all it takes, the man of integrity to achieve this.
NTA of all branches in the states will come together and set up a pro bono service for indigent complainants.
Continue to be open to receive more complaints from the public.
All the preliminary petitions for hearing were, however, adjourned till the 18th of November to enable the respondents prepare their brief. In Omoha, Chinyere Okoli, NTA News.
The Concerned Professionals Congress has commended the peace that prevailed after the NSAS protest that was eventually hijacked by some hoodlums across the country. Addressing journalists in Abuja on the state of the nation, the Northern Regional Rapporteur of the Congress, Baba Al-Kazim, has appealed to the aggrieved youth and citizens to remain calm and maintain peace as the national leadership seeks amicable means of resolving their legitimate demands. The Concerned Professional Congress has also commended the federal government and the 36 state governors, traditional rulers, religious leaders, as well as the security agencies for their role in promoting peace.
Is to emphasize the need for all Nigerians to remain calm and patient as President Muhammadu Buhari takes his time to outline and implement reforms. In view of the magnitude of the challenges, a lot of patience and understanding is needed in these circumstances.
The event, the CPC said, is part of their media advocacy and engagement in search of justice as a necessary condition for the unity and development of Nigeria. And Hingino is ready with the next set of reports in our Lagos Network Center. It's over to you.
Thank you, Hawa. The aftermath of the mayhem in Lagos following NSAS protests has continued to elicit reactions from public-spirited Nigerians. Abia State Governor Dr. Okezie Ikpeazu is the latest government official to condemn the wanton destruction of lives and property during a visit to Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu of Lagos State. Nosa Osula completes the story.
The Abia State Governor, who is in Lagos to commensurate with Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu over the attacks, condemned the arson, stressing that Lagos remains a home for all Nigerians, irrespective of tribe, language or religion.
In our projects to make sure that everybody feels the impact of government, we want to urge our youths to exercise restraint and little patience and to find a way to develop faith in governance and government.
Governor Sanwo-Olu, who thanked his Abia counterpart for taking the pain to travel down to Lagos from the southeast to identify with the residents over the violence, promised that the Lagos state government will continue to support the business aspirations of the Igbos and protect their rights to live in Lagos.
For us in Lagos, we have moved on, we are moving on, we're actually healing ourselves. We are more than ever before creating engagement and collaborations where we can build bridges and we can build connecting dots, not only for our youth, not only for our ethnic nationals, but for even our women, and ensure that indeed we have genuine real reconciliation, we speak truth to ourselves.
Meanwhile, indigenes of the southeast and south-south living in Lagos also paid a solidarity visit to Governor Sanwo-Olu at the Lagos House Ikeja. They assured the governor of their unwavering commitment to peace and unity in the state. In Lagos, Nosa Osula.
And in a related development, the recent NSAS protests, which snowballed into unprecedented violence leading to monumental loss of lives and property, has left an indelible mark on the faces of families of police officers affected by the incident. Nosa Osula reports that families of affected police officers lamented their losses during a condolence visit by the wife of the Deputy Inspector General of Police to affected stations and barracks in the state.
The newly constructed center with a mini building divided into various departments is an upgrade of the traditional Nigeria Police Juvenile Welfare Center, now known as Family Support Unit. It is a separate department of the Nigerian Police Force with specially trained personnel to handle different cases such as domestic violence, sexual abuses, among others. The center, which is well equipped and designed for the benefit of victims and officers in charge, has a reception, co-location room, juvenile department, and the interview room. Inaugurating the facility, wife of Ogun State Governor Bamidele Abiodun encouraged Nigerians to feel free to report or ask domestic violence to the Nigerian police.
When perpetrators of crime know that they will face the consequences of their action, they will think twice before engaging in those kind of acts.
Families need to be supported to have a virile nation that will be free from societal vices.
His Royal Highness Oba Adeyemi Abdulkabiru appealed to citizens to shun all forms of violence against women and children.
Our elders, men, and community leaders to always champion this cause.
As police officers, we have the responsibility of giving care and services to these victims and survivors of sexual and gender-based violence.
The Family Support Unit, which will be open 24 hours to the public, will no doubt serve as a center where victims of all forms of abuses can get justice. In Lagos, Diana Ajale, NTA News.
Now away from NSAS, beneficiaries of the NPower scheme in Lagos State have commended both the federal and Lagos State government for the successful implementation of the scheme in the face of declining revenue. Nosa Osula reports that they gave the commendation during a sensitization workshop for exited Lagos State NPower beneficiaries organized by the Lagos State government at Alausa.
NPower is a job creation initiative of the federal government under its National Social Investment Program. It is designed to help young Nigerians, both graduate and non-graduate alike, to acquire and develop lifelong skills to become solution providers in their communities and to improve their employability and entrepreneurial skills. Beneficiaries of the scheme urged youth to take advantage of the program to position themselves for employment or entrepreneurship.
I've graduated for over 5 years before the NPower program came up, and I was happy that I would be able to engage myself and help my family.
It was a transparent one. You don't have to know anybody before you apply, so I really appreciate the federal government for that and the state government.
Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu, who was represented by the State Commissioner for Wealth Creation and Employment, explained that the purpose of government's commitment towards youth empowerment is to ensure they gain the skills that would enable them make positive contributions towards building a peaceful society.
Look at Lagos State website. Look at what Ministry of Youth is offering. Ministry of Wealth Creation, Ministry of Agri, in any area, Ministry of Commerce. There is a MSME recovery fund now to those who were looted.
The NPower is a scheme set up by President Muhammadu Buhari since 8th of June 2016 to address the issues of youth unemployment and help increase social development. In Lagos, Nosa Osula, NTA News.
It's now time to take a commercial break. Nationwide continues shortly.
Thanks for rejoining us. Moving on here now, Bauchi State has recorded 8 confirmed cases and 8 deaths of probable cases of yellow fever in Ganjua local government area of the state. Chairman of the State Primary Healthcare Development Agency, Dr. Rilwanu Mohammed, revealed this while briefing journalists on the situation in Bauchi.
Confirmed cases of yellow fever in Ganjua local government. Last week when we were doing our immunization on polio, our staff that went there to monitor the activity find out that there are some in 2 wards, 8 people died of suspected or probable cases of yellow fever.
Dr. Rwanda Mohammed said 2 wards in Ganjua local government area are affected by the disease, and a rapid response team has been deployed to revaccinate the entire community. He added that massive vaccination will soon commence in the state.
The federal government has provided the vaccines in all our healthcare facilities, and it's given at 9 months together with the measles vaccination. I want to advise the parents to please, this is an opportunity the federal government has given us to vaccinate our children and at the right time.
He, however, advised people to always use mosquito nets, step up personal and environmental hygiene.
The other one is malaria parasite. This one is a virus, and we appealing to the public to please help us to, when we come out for vaccination, don't refuse the vaccination.
Some of the common symptoms of yellow fever are yellow eyes, yellow urine, and vomiting blood when it reaches the end stage. Yellow fever is transmitted by a mosquito called Aedes africana that usually bites in the daytime. In Bauchi, Bulak Afsa, NTA News.
And still staying with health matters, today is World Pneumonia Day with the theme, Every Breath Counts. Recognized in 2009, the World Pneumonia Day is marked annually on November 12th to raise awareness about the world's leading infectious killer of children under the age of 5. Statistics from the World Health Organization indicate that pneumonia accounts for 15% of all deaths in children under this age. With COVID-19 ravaging the world, differentiating patients with COVID-19 and those with bacterial pneumonia can be difficult, as acute pneumonia has been noted as a symptom of the coronavirus disease. And joining me in the studio is Dr. Basi Okposin. He is the Director, Disease Control and Immunization of the National Primary Healthcare Development Agency. It's good to have you on Nationwide.
Thank you. Good evening. Good evening, Nigerians.
Okay. Going by the theme for this year, which says every breath counts, what can be done about increasing cases of pneumonia across the globe in terms of awareness?
A lot can be done about it. Every breath counts, and like you've just said, pneumonia itself, using this opportunity to talk to Nigerians, is an infection that inflames the air sacs in 1 or 2 lungs of the individual. You know, every one of us, we have air sacs that are healthy, they receive the air, and this air is oxygenated and it becomes useful to the body. Once the person acquires inhalation that are infected, or there's an aspiration that are infected, then those air sacs becomes inflamed. And when those air sacs becomes inflamed, that's when you begin to have the problems, the issues that people talk about.
So
pneumonia.
what can be done?
Now, what can be done about that is the fact that Nigerians, number one, because once this person is infected, there are a lot of things that can happen and we can prevent them. The first thing we can do is to immunize our children, for instance, because we have 3 main causes of pneumonia. We have the bacterial, we have the fungal, and then we have the viral. And for the bacterial, we have more of the pneumococcus, streptococcus pneumonia that can cause it. For those ones, vaccines like the PCV vaccines given to our children will prevent them from coming down with it. And then the other aspect of the prevention will have to do with our personal hygiene. You know, keeping our environment clean, reducing dust, reducing those things that we can inhale that are dangerous to our air sacs, then that would also be helpful. Another way is smoking. For the smokers, smoking is dangerous for the lungs. A lot of them get problems from the smoking that have turned at the end of it becomes pneumonia. And also for our own lifestyle, we need to keep our immune system strong. How do we do that? One, sleeping, giving ourselves enough sleep and rest.
Okay, no matter the kind of,
Two, we have to eat healthy.
All right.
And then healthy exercise, having regular exercise. Those things improve our immune system naturally and keeps us healthy to fight any infection.
Okay, I was just wondering that no matter, you talked about different types of the pneumonia, and I'm wondering whichever variant that occurs comes with making breathing very, very uneasy. And we are in the era of COVID-19, so how do we differentiate between pneumonia and COVID-19?
Now,
and other respiratory tract infections.
Yeah. That's a very interesting question. Pneumonia, I mentioned earlier, is caused by 3 main pathogens.
Okay.
The bacterial, fungal, viral. The COVID-19 we are talking about falls under the viral group of it. And then any of these will cause the pneumonia, and the pneumonia, the symptoms will come either mild or severe. In the milder form of it, depending on the person's immune status to fight the antigen, the pathogen, it could just end up with common cold or flu. But where the person is at risk or is not having a strong immune system to fight the pathogen that entered the body, then it can come down with the severe form of the pneumonia, where you have the typical signs and symptoms that come with it, like the chest pains, the difficulty in breathing, the fever that comes with it. When the person is coughing, there will be that chest pain that comes with it. Then for
it and COVID?
In the COVID now, the signs of it comes very close to that. But when it comes to the COVID, there are some other things that are becoming noticed now that are characteristic of the COVID, like the loss of taste, and so many other symptoms that added with it, the diarrhea, and so many other things that comes with it. So usually, and this is one of the things that is causing problems in some of our hospitals. The moment they see somebody comes and is sick, immediately say is COVID. COVID is just one of the things that will cause the signs that are related to pneumonia. So our health workers should be courageous to receive Nigerians.
Which is more deadly?
Well, when we talk of the death from pneumonia, there are things that can increase the risk. For one, if the person is already immune suppressed, or the person had chronic ailments, or the nutritional status of the person is not strong. Of course, if he has pneumonia, the chances of that person recovering is not as good as when the person is fit. Now, we advise Nigerians generally to, like I said earlier, eat healthy, sleep, rest, exercise. By so doing, you build your immunity, and when you build your immunity and you are strong, you can fight any disease. COVID, yes, is deadly, but other pneumonias are equally very deadly. For instance, the streptococcal pneumonias themselves, they are very deadly.
Now, we are not done talking about, or we can't be done talking about COVID-19 because this is the new normal now. But we are also hearing of outbreaks of yellow fever in Bauchi, Enugu, and I think Delta. What, in your opinion, is responsible for this, and what should be done to avoid a pandemic?
Now, in Delta, yes, they have reported 32 cases. Enugu, they have reported 47 deaths. And then Bauchi, like we heard earlier, 8. Those people, from the investigations carried out so far, shows the deaths were from yellow fever. Now, they also show that these people never received the yellow fever vaccination. And when you look at the age group of the people involved in these states, in Delta is 18 years to 25 years, and in Enugu also age group of 18 to 30 years. If you look at that age group, those age group, and they have never immunized, they are an age group that they were never immunized when they were born, and they never exposed themselves to have a vaccination.
Okay.
And I want to use this opportunity to thank His Excellency the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, the Minister, Dr. Ihanire, and the Executive Director NPHCDA, Dr. Faisal Shwel, for the support they are giving to us to immunize Nigerian children.
Okay.
Nigeria is the only country in Africa that buys the routine immunization for yellow fever 100% to immunize the children. The immunization for yellow fever in Nigeria started in 2009.
Okay.
And if you could see, children born from that period till now have these vaccines given to them free of charge, and that age group is not common.
All right, Dr.
So we advise other Nigerians.
we can't exhaust this topic. We truly appreciate your coming on Nationwide today. The takeaway, I would say, it's immunization.
Yes.
Getting it right.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
And personal hygiene.
Personal hygiene. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Moving on, former President Jerry Rawlings of Ghana has died from complications of COVID-19. Reports say that the ex-president died at a teaching hospital in Accra, capital of Ghana, on Thursday morning. A military ruler who later joined politics. Rawlings ruled Ghana from 1981 to 2001. He led a military junta until 1992 and then served 2 terms as the democratically elected president of Ghana. The West African Health Organization, WAHO, is advising ECOWAS member states to brace for a second wave of the COVID-19 pandemic as infection rate in the region hit more than 195,000 cases. Director General of WAHO, Professor Stanley Okolo, gave the warning in his presentation to the ECOWAS Parliament, the localized meeting on agricultural production, food security and the fight against COVID-19 underway in Bissau, capital of Guinea-Bissau. Professor Okolo encouraged regional leaders not to relent in efforts to contain the virus, bearing in mind that the region lacks the capacity to contain a second wave of the virus. He notes that West Africa, he notes, does not produce the vaccines nor the funds for the needed vaccines for her people and may not have early access to those produced in developed countries. These, he advised, are enough reasons for leaders of member states to emphasize on the use of face masks, observance of personal hygiene and other safety measures to prevent a second wave, as is already witnessed in countries in Europe. And Kemi in our Ibadan Network Center has the next set of reports. Hello, Kemi. You're on.
Hello, Hawa, and welcome to Ibadan. The panel of inquiry on alleged police brutality in Kwara State is set to hold its inaugural sitting on Monday, 16th of November 2020. Kendi Omolosho reports that the panel has received 18 petitions from members of the public.
Inaugurated on the 20th of October by Governor Abdurrahman Abdurazak, the panel is to, among other things, investigate complaints of police brutality, human rights abuse, and extrajudicial killings with a view to prosecuting erring officers and compensate victims. The panel has since been receiving petitions from members of the public who had suffered one form of brutality or the other from the disbanded SARS operatives. At the expiration of the deadline for the submission of petitions, a total of 18 petitions were received and are being processed for hearing.
And we have forwarded 12 of the 18 petitions to the police on Friday. But between Friday and today, we have 6 petitions again, which we are going to submit to the police today to respond.
As the sitting begins on Monday, the panel is hopeful of stakeholders' cooperation to achieve the desired results.
We urge the public to cooperate with us. People with genuine complaints should come, and by the special grace of God, we will attend to them promptly.
Hearings will hold at the State Sharia Court of Appeal, Ilorin. Kehinde Omolosho, NTA News.
In the same vein, an 11-man judicial panel of inquiry to investigate allegations of extrajudicial killings and brutality by security agents against residents of Oyo State has been inaugurated by Governor Seyi Makinde. Correspondent Ayomiko Ajibola has the reports.
Following the federal government directive on October 16 to all state governors to set up judicial panel of inquiry to listen to petitions of members of the public and recommend actions against police brutality, violation of rights of citizens, and unlawful killings, Governor Seyi Makinde declared the readiness of Oyo State to take appropriate sanction against indicted persons or agencies.
Let me reiterate that those who are responsible for the death of Isiaka Jimoh, Ganiyu Moshood Alabi, and Adeye Taiwo will be brought to book.
The state government, through the platforms it earlier set up to collate cases of rights infringements, according to him, has received close to 50 complaints of alleged police brutality and human rights violation.
I want to encourage anyone who has faced any type of brutality or human rights abuse in the hands of any of the security forces to use this opportunity to speak out and seek justice.
The panel is made up of 11 members drawn from Legal, National Human Rights Commission, the Department of Public Prosecution, National Youth Council of Nigeria, youth representatives of NSAS protesters, and the community in Ibadan. Ayomiku Ajibola, NTA News.
You're still watching Nationwide on the NTA. More reports after this timeout. Stay with us.
It's still Nationwide on the network service of the NTA. State House correspondent Adamu Sambo is now ready with our earlier introduced story on the 4 new ambassadors reporting for duty in Nigeria.
The new envoys who presented their letters of credence to President Muhammadu Buhari were Daniel Bertrand from Belgium, Ba Abdurrahman of Mauritania, Thomas Seleshinja of Austria, and Not Eiliv Len from Norway. With this historic and remarkable event, the ambassadors have formally begun diplomatic responsibilities in Nigeria as defined by the provisions of the time-honored Vienna Convention. And as the nation continues to bask in the euphoria of its Diamond Jubilee celebration, President Muhammadu Buhari wants the envoys to take steps towards deepening existing relations between Nigeria and their countries for the benefit of their peoples.
Nigeria enjoys very good bilateral relations with your respective countries and has collaborated at the multilateral level to achieve targets set by several international conventions and treaties established by our respective nations. We need to enhance the existing cordial relations between us in the interest of our peoples and countries. Nigeria is ready to pursue broader dialogue as well as enhanced cooperation and collaboration on the basis of constructive mutual respect and a shared vision for our future.
Nigeria, President Buhari explains, shares common problems of insecurity, impact of climate change, and socio-economic challenges common amongst nations, saying, however, that efforts are being intensified by its administration towards overcoming these difficulties.
As a global family, we are impacted by several other common challenges like terrorism, insurgency, climate change, population explosion, human trafficking, corruption, poverty, and now the global health pandemic, which coronavirus represents, considering its mayhem across the world. All these challenges underscore the need for the international community to make concerted efforts at resolving them in the interest of our common humanity.
The president also made a case for the international community and investors to take advantage of the country's diversity in human and natural resources for investment. Responding on behalf of the new envoys, Ambassador Daniel Bertrand of Belgium promised to make their stay in Nigeria more eventful and result-oriented.
I would like also to tell you that we are at your disposal in order to go ahead, to strengthen, to narrow our bilateral ties, not only in the economic and commercial fields, but also in the political and cultural fields.
All the new envoys were earlier on arrival at the State House treated to a befitting diplomatic welcome by officers and soldiers of the Presidential Guards Brigade. From the State House, Adamu Sambu, NTA News.
Residents of Makurdi, the Benue State capital, have lamented the outrageous bills charged by the Jos Electricity Distribution Company. Grace Anyalewa Ichepa, who interacted with some customers, has the details.
In September 2020, the Nigerian labor unions threatened to embark on a nationwide strike as a result of issues affecting Nigerian workers, which include increments in electricity tariff. These actions by the labor unions prompted the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission (NEC) to order all the 11 electricity distribution companies to suspend the tariff increase for 14 days. Consumers who spoke to NTA News lament the estimated billing, which they say is not commensurate with the supply of power.
We were not owing, and then all of a sudden, at first they brought a bill of 80,000 naira. And then we complained, we went to the office, we complained. It was not resolved.
Sometime this year, the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission also mandated us to be certain classes of customers on a ceiling, on a cap, which is something we are doing. But at the same time, we also have customers who were before now unprepaid. For some reason, some are no longer unprepaid. There is also a way to ascertain their bill based on their historical billing, why they were metered.
In Makurdi, Grace Anyalewa Ichepa, NTA News.
The National Battery Control Regulation 2020 has been presented to stakeholders in the environmental sector for consideration and implementation at this year's National Regulatory Dialogue. Francis Fom has more.
Hardly can one see an engine functioning without a battery, but its indiscriminate disposal claims many lives, especially when the mercury in it contaminates water. Nigeria, therefore, is going for an aggressive climb down on those disposing this mercury-filled substance without regards to the environment. A draft policy to this effect is ready for consideration by experts.
And these batteries, they contain a lot of hazardous. So people are in the habit of dumping some of these batteries anyhow. So the need for us to control how this waste is managed cannot be overemphasized. That's why we came up with a regulation on battery waste.
It is a virtual session, no thanks to COVID-19. However, a total of 7 regulations were presented and considered for amendment. The regulations are aimed at promoting a greener environment, the DG of Nigeria assured. In Abuja, Francis Fom, NTA News.
The Minister of Communications and Digital Economy, Issa Ali Pantami, has presented memos on a draft national policy on digital identity for internally displaced persons in Nigeria and a request for the construction of a digital innovation and entrepreneurship center at the Federal Executive Council this Wednesday. A statement by the Technical Assistant on Information Technology to the Minister, Femi Adeluyi, indicates that both memos were approved and will support in the implementation of the National Digital Economy Policy for a Digital Nigeria. The statement emphasized that the policy seeks to integrate IDPs and will enable them access public, private, and humanitarian services. The center, which will be situated in Abuja, will, apart from creating jobs, provide facilities to nurture new ideas and focus on the promotion and development of emerging technologies. And sports update is next.
Super Eagles technical advisor Gernot Rohr is expecting a tricky encounter when Nigeria take on Sierra Leone on March Day 3 of 2021 AFCON qualifiers at the Samuel Ogbemudia Stadium in Benin. The Leone Stars have 16 foreign-based players in their team, prompting Rohr to describe the...
The All Progressives Congress national leader, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, has extended condolences to the family of Alhaji Balarabe Musa over his demise, describing him as a principled and committed progressive politician. In a condolence message issued by his media office, Tinubu said Balarabe Musa would be sorely missed by the entire country, particularly by the Talakawas, whom he fought for all his life. The Speaker of the House of Representatives, on his part, Femi Gbajabiamila, has also expressed sadness over the passing of the one-time governor of Kaduna State, Malam Balarabe Musa. The Speaker, who described the late Balarabe Musa as a dogged Democrat, said he would be remembered for always standing for democracy. Meanwhile, the National Executive Committee of the People's Redemption Party, PRP, has also mourned the death of its former national chairman, who, until his death, was the party's chairman board of trustees. A statement from the party's national chairman, Falalu Bello, describes the deceased as a warrior in the battle for the liberation and material upliftment of the common man. And President Muhammadu Buhari has sent his heartfelt condolences to the government and people of Ghana over the passing of the country's former president, Jerry Rawlings, at 73, affirming that the entire African continent will sorely miss the sterling qualities of the great leader. In a statement by his special advisor, Media and Publicity, Femi Adesina, President Buhari believes the passion, discipline, and moral strength that the former Ghanaian leader employed to reposition his country over many years continue to reverberate across the continent and beyond. The president notes with commendation the unique role the former president played in strengthening political institutions in his country and Africa, and joins family, friends, and associates of the former Ghanaian leader in mourning his departure, assuring that the ideas that Rawlings postulated will always be remembered. And that's Nationwide today. We thank you for being part of it. Do remember, COVID-19 is still very much with us. Do stay safe. Bye.